guys, thank you for coming back. I am so sorry about the trouble that I just had. Don't know what was going on, but for some reason my microphone wasn't working, but it appears to be working now, so I am very sorry about that. Thank you for coming back for this episode. As I was trying to say before, there is a very special link in the description. And by clicking on that link, you can get a 30-day free trial of Amazon Prime. I encourage all of you to go check that out. Hold on just one second. There we go. Didn't quite get everything back to normal. So check out the link in the description. And if you sign up for your free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime through that link, you are also supporting this channel and this series. So please go check it out. Also, speaking about this series, please give this video a thumbs up. Today is the 20th video of Reverent Readings, so please give it a thumbs up and help me celebrate today's 20 videos. Also, today is the last video of this week, but be sure to come back on Monday for the first video of that week. I do the stream every weeknight at 9:30. So be sure to come back and join me every weeknight at 9:30. You can find me right here and make me part of your nightly routine. That would be so wonderful. So also please subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss me posting any videos. I post other videos besides this stream, so please be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on when I post videos. Also, check me out on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, and it's The Well-Rounded Girl, and I just post about what's going on, updates, reminders about the stream every night. So be sure to like my Facebook page so that you get reminders and updates about things that you can't find anywhere else. Also, please check out my blog. There is a link in the description for that. I started my blog before I actually started the YouTube channel, so you can find some other stuff on there as well. I don't get a lot of a chance to post on my blog very much anymore, but I am trying to find time in the very near future to do that, so check it out. I think that's about it, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And for those of you who haven't been here before, or in case I didn't mention it in one of my other videos, the devotional book that I am reading from in this series right now is called Horsetails from Heaven by Rebecca Ondov. And I'm just going to read you the short bio on the back here. It says, Rebecca Ondov has worked at a ranch, on pack trips, and as a forest ranger. She's the author of Once in a Blue Moon Boot Bus picture book and has won numerous writing workshops. She founded Blazing Ink and currently works in the lumber industry. She lives in western Montana with her family, horses, mules, barn cat, and golden retriever. So just a little info about her so that you kind of understand what's going on. Right now, I believe she works at a sort of a dude ranch kind of thing, leading pack trips and camping trips. And so we're going to go ahead and get started, and today's reading is called Leaky Slickers, and the Bible verse for it says, Stop being bitter and angry and mad at others. Don't yell at one another or curse each other or ever be rude. Instead, be kind and merciful and forgive others just as God forgave you because of Christ. Ephesians 4:31-32. The brisk October breeze gently sang through the pines, and the sun warmed my back. I unzipped my winter jacket a few inches and loosened my wool scarf. Cotton ball clouds floated over the mountain peaks. Brilliant gold aspen leaves lazily spiraled to the forest floor. I leaned forward in the saddle, squeezed my knees, and clucked to my bay gelding to move into a trot. I was by myself and on the way to the hunting camp 24 miles away. On a good day, if Czar and I moved at a good clip with no stops, it would take us 7 hours. The hunters and guides had packed in a couple days ago, but I hadn't because of a commitment in civilization. Today I was swapping out with Karen, my boss, who had stood in as cook for me. It was a perfect day. I wasn't pulling a pack of string mules, I didn't have to watch out for guests or crew, and camp was already set up. When I'd ride in tonight, the lanterns would be glowing inside the canvas tents, and dinner would be warming on the wood stove. Well, it would have been a perfect day except for my encounter this morning with Becky. Boy, she could irritate me. We were opposites. I was a tall beanpole. She was short and rather stout. I fit the crew like a glove, but she seemed standoffish. I loved working in the woods and disliked returning to civilization. Becky didn't come into the hills. She cooked at the ranch and managed the lodge and cabins while the rest of us were on trips. Becky's job was enormous. It took an incredibly organized person to iron out the details of meals, groceries, lodging, and vehicles at the trailheads and coordinate the constant comings and goings of guests and crews. In the summer there were 2 crews, and in the fall there were 3. I frowned as I rocked in the saddle and thought about all the things Becky forgot to pack for my trips. The worst part was that once we rode into the wilderness, there wasn't any place to get supplies. It wasn't uncommon for me to be short one steak, which meant I went without any meat for dinner. Or I might discover that the specific food items I'd requested, such as cheese and crackers for mid-afternoon snacks, were never purchased. I hadn't heard of anything missing on the other trips. By midsummer, I wondered if she was shorting supplies for my trips on purpose. Sar's hooves clattered on rocks. I slowed him to a walk as we climbed up Whiskey Ridge. When it leveled out on top, I zipped up my winter jacket. The temperature dropped at least 10 degrees, and the breeze had changed directions. Not good. It's out of the north, I thought. Ominous dark gray clouds marched over the pine-studded mountain. Good thing I bought that waterproof slicker that will fit over my winter jacket. This could turn nasty. The black clouds spit a few raindrops. Untying the dark green raincoat from its place on the back of the saddle, I shrugged it on and then pushed Czar into a mile-eating walk. By the time I dropped off Whiskey Ridge into the Dry Fork, the breeze had given way to a side wind that pelted us with sleet and snow. Pulling up my collar, I tipped my head down so the bill on my wool Elmer Fudd hat would keep the snow out of my eyes. It had flaps that came down over my ears, and I was grateful for the warmth. The wind bit my face. Czar squinted his eyes and bowed his neck. He picked his way down the trail that wound through the knee-high wet grass. The wind bellowed through the full night of the valley and blasted into us. Czar braced against it. By the time we reached the north end of the valley, daylight was fading and snow had built up on the shoulders of my slicker. Then I felt a cold drop on my shoulder. What? Quickly I whisked off the snow. Unzipping my slicker, I looked at a dark and wet spot engulfing the top of my winter jacket. This raincoat is supposed to be waterproof. The slicker had obviously been leaking for quite a while, but I hadn't felt it because it had to soak through my winter jacket, down vest, wool sweater, turtleneck, and long johns top before hitting my skin. An alarm sounded through my mind. Never, never, never get wet in the wilderness during a storm. One of the biggest threats to living in the woods was not the animals or encounters with people, it was hypothermia, when a person's core body temperature drops from its usual 98.6 degrees to 95 degrees or lower. And when a person's clothing gets wet, it draws body heat out. Hypothermia creeps in slowly, clouding a person's thoughts. Over the years, I've drilled the symptoms into my head. Hunger, shivering, blueness of skin, loss of coordination starting with fingers and then advancing to stumbling. Judgment is gradually impaired, and during the final stages can lead to amnesia apathy, and drowsiness. In the last stages, the violent shivering stops. At the end, all the person wants to do is lie down and sleep. Death follows. The wind gusted. I hunkered in the saddle, the snow pelting my numb face. My thoughts whirled. I still have a couple hours to ride. There's not a shelter where I can build a fire to dry out. I pulled the scarf higher on my neck. This storm feels like it's going to get worse. If I stop, the snow could pile up and strand me out here. I leaned forward and patted Czar's neck. Let's boogie. He quickened his pace. Over the next couple miles, the temperature plummeted. The snow fell so thickly I could see only 20 feet in front of me. Constantly, I brushed the snow off my shoulders, but the wetness seeped through. My upper body became damp. Shivering, I unbuckled my saddlebags and pulled out one of the 2 sandwiches Becky had packed for me. I peeled back the plastic bag and took a bite. Turkey. Yuck. Becky knows that turkey is on the bottom of my like list. I was so hungry I polished off both sandwiches. In my mind, I notched another offense against her. A mile later, I felt cold and clammy. Reining in Czar, I slipped out of the saddle. I'd better walk a ways to warm up. With Czar trailing me, I slogged down the trail. Earlier in the day, rain had poured, creating ruts in the trail that had filled with water. The blizzard had then filled them with snow, forming deep slush. I shoved my clunky winter boots through the mess while my mind replayed the situations where I felt Becky had offended me. In a mile I was exhausted, but my body had warmed up a bit. I climbed back into the saddle. Over the next couple miles I would walk until I warmed up, and then ride to gather my strength. By now I was so wet and cold I was walking. The wind howled and snow drifted across the valley. Darkness swallowed us as the sun set behind the mountains and clouds blocked the moon. Only the snow glowed faintly. Pine trees moaned, objecting to the force of the wind twisting their limbs. Violently shivering in the saddle, I opened and closed. Mile after mile, I hungered from the cold. It felt like my inner heater had switched off. A gust of wind thundered down the valley and collided with us, pushing us sideways. Czar's metal shoes glided on the ice. He wobbled and locked his knees, trying to stand. I grabbed his mane. Easy, boy, I comforted. The wind swept my words away. Czar carefully inched his feet across the ice. I slumped in the saddle and shook my head, trying to clear it. How far to camp? Sheets of ice entombed us. Disoriented, I squinted into the black storm that pelted us with snow. Where are we? A tree snapped, broken by the wind. It crashed to the ground and Czar jumped off. He shuffled one of his front feet forward. Just as he put his weight on it, he skidded. The leg buckled. I tipped forward, grabbing his mane. My shifting weight pushed him off center again. His feet slipped on the ice. Catching himself, he stopped and stood with all 4 feet firmly planted. I breathed a sigh of relief and slipped out of the saddle to walk a while. I took a couple steps. My foot slipped out from underneath me. Falling on my side, I curled into a ball. It feels so good to lie down, I thought. A warning bell clanged and my mind said, "Get up, get up!" Exhausted, I pulled myself to my feet and stood weaving, my thoughts groggy. I blinked. The stormy night consumed me. I stood still until Czar nudged me forward with his nose. I took a deep breath. I can do this. I forced myself to put 1 foot forward. Just one more step, I told myself over and over. I shuffled along the icy trail for what seemed an eternity. The wind blasted my face. Snowflakes stuck to my eyelashes. I had to hold my eyelids partially closed because my contacts kept freezing. The trail dipped down a small hill to a river. I stopped, my mind muddled. Danaher River? I stepped next to Czar. His body was crusted with snow. My body felt so heavy that I leaned against him before heaving myself into the saddle. Forward. He stepped over the edge of the bank and stopped at the ice that extended 4 feet into the river. The beaver dam had caused the river to back up. With a little flow, a thick layer of ice had formed at this crossing of pebbles, so it would be too dangerous, and that he might fall through and drown. I squeezed. He backed up, thumped his side. But kick out, my hands felt like clubs with the reins and turned him back. He walked to the edge, but refused. He stood frozen like a block of ice. A thought whispered in my foggy brain. Ride to the high Czar north, as my thought crossing would add 45 miles to this world. I quivering and drew. The black night and the rocking motion from stride lulled me. Down and sleep for a while, circling in my thoughts. My body wasn't part of me anymore. I couldn't feel my hands. I shook my head to wake my mind. A thought drifted forward. Tie the reins together before you dropped them. I could barely fumble a knot. I let the reins fall on Czar's neck as my hands dropped to my lap. I squinted but couldn't make out any shapes. Nothing felt familiar. Are we going the right way? Should we go another direction? A red flag waved in my mind. Let Czar lead, floated through the haze. The wind whipped us. I slouched deeper in the saddle, my mind bogged down. Czar's hooves clattered over pedals and then splashed through water. He climbed up the hill and wove through the pines that finally broke the force of the wind, providing some relief. Step, his hooves through the cold. Suddenly, his head popped up. In the distance, 3 Coleman gas lanterns glowed from what were probably the hitching rack and corrals. The lanterns cut through the fog. I sighed and Czar with my frozen hand whispered. Blurs came out from the tents and stood under the lanterns, waiting for me at the corral. Czar finally got. Jack walked over and frowned at my iced-over jacket and blue lips. We were just getting ready to send out a search party. My tongue was thick as I slurred out. Czar wouldn't cross on the ice by the beaver dams. We took the high crossing. He shook his head. We never would have looked for you up there. Reaching out his hand, Jack helped me out of the saddle. He turned to the cowboys and said, Unsaddle Czar and grain him. Then he walked with me to the tent. The guys lit a fire in your wood stove a couple hours ago. It's toasty warm in there. Jack held open the flap. Heat boiled out. Uncomfortably, he shifted his weight and looked into my eyes. A tone of worry sounded in his voice when he asked, Will you be okay getting changed into dry clothes? I nodded. Right after you get changed, I want you to come to the cook tent. I nodded my head again and stepped next to the wood stove. Chunks of ice fell off my jacket as I held my hands close to the stove. They felt like they were on fire, so I stepped back. Gradually, my mind thawed. I glanced at my watch. It had taken Czar and me more than 9 hours to get to camp. After a few minutes, I could open and close my hands. I'd surely been in the final stages of hypothermia. If it hadn't been for God's warning bells going off in my head, and for Czar, I'd probably be lying frozen on the trail. Slowly, the heat penetrated my body. Sitting on the edge of my hay bed, I changed clothes and frowned as I pulled off my wool pants. The hem was crusted with mud from walking through the slop on the trail. I'll have to send these out with the next pack string for Becky to wash, I groaned. I wonder if she'll put them in the dryer and shrink them. I hesitated. Becky's not even here and I'm complaining about her. Normally when I rode down the trail I chattered with God and admired His creation. I grimaced, and I complained about Becky nearly all day. Just like the rain leaking through my slicker, my ill thoughts toward Becky had slowly dripped into my life from the beginning of the summer. Each time she offended me, icy fingers of bitterness dug deeper into my heart until it was frozen into forgiveness on the cold trail ride. This attitude toward Becky had built a wall of ice between God and me. Just like the snow and ice had crusted over me, almost killing me, my resentments were causing spiritual hypothermia. Slowly, I wiggled my throbbing fingers. Becky is not forcing me to feel this way. I'm choosing my responses. I took a deep breath. Lord, I choose to forgive her. Forgive me for my bitterness toward her. When I finished praying, warm peace settled in my heart. After changing, I joined the hunters and crew in the cook tent. The guys dished up dinner for me. The warm food helped thaw my insides. After making sure I was going to be all right, the guys let me head for bed. Even though I snuggled deep into my sleeping bag, I couldn't sleep because of the intense burning on my hands and feet caused by frostbite. For the next couple days, I managed to do my duties even though my mind was in a fog, and it took a long time for my body to realize it was okay and warm. 45 days later, I rode out of the wilderness. Back at the ranch, Becky and I sat down together. I was shocked to discover that many of the offenses I tallied were mistakes that fell through the cracks because of her busy schedule. I was more shocked when I learned that she thought I wanted her job. No way! Who'd want to stay at the ranch instead of going out in the wilderness? Although we didn't become best friends, we gained a new understanding that formed the foundation of a solid working relationship. If you've had frostbite or come close to it, you know that even now my body is extremely sensitive to cold. In the summer, my friends joke, "It must be 90 degrees. Rebecca finally quit wearing her wool sweater." The redeeming point is that whenever I get cold, I'm reminded to make sure there's no ice between God and me. Lord, I don't ever want to ice up with bitterness toward others, which ultimately separates me from you. Instead of counting offenses, give me the strength to turn away from them and reflect your heart. Amen. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's reading, and again, I am very sorry for what happened at the beginning of the episode on the first try, but everything is working now, so if you guys have any thoughts or anything that you'd like to share on tonight's reading, be sure to use that chat box on the right-hand side of your screen to share any thoughts, anything you'd like to share. Maybe you've been through something like this that you'd like to share just to add to tonight's reading. I would really love to hear from you guys, so be sure to use that chat box on the right-hand side. Please, please, please let me know what you guys think, and if you're not watching this live, be sure to use the comment section down below to let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions, I will try to answer them. So be sure to use that, and we can have a nice discussion down in the comment section. But if you are watching live right now, please be sure to use that chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. Again, just waiting for you guys. If any of you are going to chat, I will share a couple thoughts that I had. Is that if there is a chance of you being bitter or holding resentment towards somebody, ask God to forgive you for wanting to feel bitter towards them, and ask God to forgive them as well. Because just like Jesus said on the cross, "Dear God, please forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." Sometimes people aren't meaning to be hurtful towards you, and they're not always doing it on purpose. So always give people the benefit of the doubt that, maybe it wasn't their fault. Maybe they didn't mean to. So forgive them for it. And then if you had been having hard feelings toward them, ask God to forgive you as well. So just always try not to build up any resentment or feel any hatred towards somebody, because if somebody is doing something to you, like I said, it may not always be on purpose. They may not be meaning it. So if you guys had anything else that you'd like to add to this discussion tonight, be sure to use that chat box on the right hand side. So if that is all, guys, again, just please check out my Facebook page. Go give that a like, subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any videos, and be sure to like this video. Help me celebrate. This is my 20th episode of Reverent Readings, and be sure to tune back on Monday at 9:30. Make this part of your nightly routine. So I hope to see you guys here every weeknight at 9:30. So join me back Monday night, the first episode of the week. Also, be sure to click the link in the description. Get a free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime. I know you guys will love it. You get free 2-day shipping on all Prime items, which is a ton of items. So be sure to go check it out. And by signing up through the link in the description, you are supporting this. It's completely sign up today. I think so. I hope you have a good weekend, and guys, able to watch tonight, and all the rest of you who have been watching. I just love all of you so much. It means the world to me that you come back night after night to watch me. So thank you very much for your support. And guys, on Monday at 9:30. So until then, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Good night.